move that Alireza played as a little kid. That is the move that he's preferred in the blitz time control. What will he bring to the table in this critical game? Boom!
Finally, you've been waiting to see one e4 since the start of the day, and we get it. But look at that. It is the Petrov, the Russian defense by Magnus Carlsen, and it's Alireza with the first pause. How much of a surprise is knight f6 to Alireza right now?
Well, this has not been a typical choice for Magnus, right? Jan Nepomniachtchi, yes. John Krzysztof Duda, yes. But Magnus has played knight c6 throughout his career. Now we're getting a sideline. Alireza playing d takes e5. This is not the most common move. Bishop to d3 is more common, so I'm just going to spotlight that for a second. Here we get a line that has been played. I saw some Arjun Erigaisi games here. It's a very unconventional pawn structure, Tanya, with a white pawn on e5, a black pawn on d5, and now the queen on d7. There's way too much nuance for us to explain it in the context of a rapid game. What I will say is that both players are likely to castle kingside, and this battle is likely to be decided with some very deep play in the center of the board.
And we see the rerouting of the knight to the really nice spot on e6. Daniel, looking at the opening outcome, I know it's still early on, and even though it's one of the most solid openings of chess, one that has stood the test of time, I do think that the result will reflect that. I think we're going to have a draw in this one, and Magnus's choice of knight f6 seems to imply that he wants to take it to the Armageddon, and just as I say that, b6 on the board. So inviting a little bit of an interesting play. The bishop will come to b7, the pawn will go to c5, the other pawn will move to d4. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Magnus doesn't mind a second Armageddon. His opening choice indicates that if Alireza really wants a draw with white, he can make it. But Alireza wants to end this match right here and right now. I think his heart can't take another Armageddon. This choice to play b6 and bishop e7, I'm not too experienced in this line in general, but Magnus actually delaying the development of his kingside, that tells me he actually might want to castle queenside. And checkmate Alireza with a quick pawn storm. No, c5. The engine doesn't like it. I really liked, Tanya, the possibility of knight c6 and long castle. I thought Magnus should have invested some more time thinking about that option.
c5, he wants to control more of the center and then bring out the knight to c6, but how much of an option is long castle anymore? Is that even on the table, considering that black has expanded with c5, d5, giving Alireza the hook when he strikes with b4? If we were to see a queenside castle by Magnus Carlsen, do you think that's still on the cards?
It definitely is on the table. Just because you've played c5 doesn't mean you can't castle queenside. It's more dangerous now. White has the possibility of b4. But I'm really confused at Alireza's last move. He kind of autopiloted this weird move c3. If we could pull up an analysis board, I'm not sure what the point of that move was. My preference would have been a move like knight g3 or knight to e3, trying to quickly get this knight around to d6, because that is the square that black weakens when he pushes the c-pawn. Also, this would have prevented Magnus from easily developing his... move away. He was one rook trade away from taking this match. So Magnus is tougher on himself than any chess fan can possibly be. You know, these players, a single mistake often send them over the edge. Magnus demands perfection from himself, and he's been short of that so far today. So he's exasperated, but right now I like the way that he's playing. And Alireza, queen takes d5. What a gutsy move.
What?
Just snapping the pawn off board. Magnus immediately responding with a weird retreat. Knight c to d8. I thought that there was knight a5. Knight d4 deserved consideration. Instant response.
At least to think about it, because what is that knight from d8 doing? It's just coming in the way of its own knights, and we see a series of trades take place. White has got an extra pawn, but look at what's happening on the f-file. That's a total traffic jam. Quite an ugly pawn structure for Alireza. Daniel, I definitely see the compensation, and Magnus has magically managed to transfer his knights from e6 to f4. Is this inching closer to the Armageddon?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I'm a little bit stunned at the speed with which Magnus got this position. You know, there were other things to consider. Obviously, White has the triple pawns, or the Irish pawns, as they're affectionately known in some circles, but it's not about the triple pawns. The most important pawn is sitting on f6. It's actually very well protected, and White's bishop is a monster piece here. It's got a complete monopoly over the light squares. It's preventing the other rook from coming into the game. So Magnus has to find a way to work around that bishop, maybe go h6, get his king around to g6. It's anybody's game. Alireza could lose control of this, Tanya. Very important for us to indicate, if Firouzja loses the f6 pawn, he's going to be worse. So it's not like he has a blank check here, but he's definitely in the driver's seat for the time being. And another excellent move. Bishop to d7. Will he exchange on e6?
But does he need to rush with that? Because the bishop from d7 doesn't only eye that exchange, it also gives White the time to double up on the d file. You could exchange on your terms. You could put more pressure on that black rook on d8. So something to think about right now for Alireza. Does he keep the pressure? He goes in with the rook. Once again, Daniel not only doubling down on that knight, but I think he's eyeing a double up on the d file and then take on e6.
Alireza is a perennially underrated endgame player. People just assume that he's young, he's washed. Alireza is one of the top endgame players of this new generation. He really set the trend. I think that's been followed by Noterbeck and Gukesh and the other players who devote tons of training time to the endgame. Who was the first to do that in this new generation? It's Firouzja. He's been doing a great job thus far, but he's very far away from a full point here. If he plays bishop takes c6, Tanya, Magnus is not going to go rook takes d6. He's going to play knight f4 takes e6, and he's got everything defended. Somehow, Magnus is staying alive. He's also 2 minutes up on the clock.
And it's so easy to forget that Alireza Firouzja is just 21 years old. He's been at the top of the elite chess world for so long that you just seem to forget that he's one of the younger generations right now. And Daniel, absolutely agree with you. We know him for his tactical style, his aggressive play, his intuitive sacrifices. But even in the Chess.com Classic, he has shown some incredible technique in the endgame.
I like the way that he's handling this endgame, but I think Magnus is finding all of the best moves, all of the money moves, exchanging a pair of rooks, right? Alireza could not have avoided that trade because of the threat of a checkmate, and a draw has been agreed.
Whoa.